Hello, welcome back to the Fighting Cock YouTube channel. Rodrigo Bentancur is back in full training, according to Big Ange, and what news this is. What does it mean for Tottenham Hotspur to have a player of his quality back, and will his injury have any impact on his abilities to return to where he was last season? Because he was, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most underrated players in the Premier League this season, and in a system and a team and an environment that was created by Antonio Conte, he was one of the outliers at Tottenham Hotspur that really pulled us forward, which created a positive atmosphere. And it is his injury that really put an end to our Champions League hopes last year. Obviously, Harry Kane was an outlier and was incredible and scored 30 goals in the Premier League and all the great things we know Harry Kane to be. He's always going to be that. Bentancur was one that just persistently went under the radar, but also dragged Tottenham Hotspur through many occasions. Yet to have him back after that injury, it's a massive, massive boost. I know it's a cliche to say that it's like having a new player, but it is. It's fundamentally, it is. Postecoglou is looking at this as an amazing opportunity to bring back what is a player that would fit perfectly in this Postecoglou system, which we're going to talk about as well. Now, some of the conversations on the Fighting Cock podcast have been about what kind of Rodrigo Bentancur will return to Tottenham. Will his ACL injury impact how good a player he is going forward, and what we can expect from him in the short term? Now, the reality is that the ACLs are historically have been one of the worst injuries you can have as a footballer. It's ended careers. Some players don't return to their best, but many players do. And the way this injury is addressed and treated has changed in very recent times, in the last 4 or 5 years, to what it was previously. But even back in the day, some of the best players that we've ever seen in world football have had ACLs and come back better than they were before. Shearer had an ACL. Del Piero, Roberto Baggio, Francesco Totti had ACLs. Van Nistelrooy famously had an ACL. He was about to sign for Manchester United from PSV. There's a video footage you probably find on YouTube somewhere of him jumping up to header a ball in training. There was no contact. It wasn't. That was what's kind of interesting about ACL is that it's not a contact injury. He was jumping to header a ball, simple, very relaxed drill. He came down, his knee went, and you heard him screaming. It was horrendous. He stayed at PSV for the remainder of that season, getting better. And then a year later, Man United went about bringing him to Old Trafford, and you just saw what a career he had with them there. Also, Roy Keane. And similarly to Bentancur, Xavi in midfield for Barcelona. He had an ACL and returned to the greats and the generational type player that he was. While this is a significant injury, and that's an obvious thing to say, it's not the end for players. And like I say, there has been huge advancements in how these ACLs have been treated. And that's not me knowing anything about this stuff. Of course I don't. I just read it on the internet. And actually, let me read you what I read. Early methods of surgery involved repairing the ligament or using a synthetic material to replace the ligament, but the failure rate was very high. Today, the most common corrective procedure for this injury is ACL reconstruction, which involves replacing the entire ligament with a tendon graft. And of course, at Tottenham are going to be looking at it and going, well, is this player going to return? Can he return? And it's in the best interest of the club to ensure that, at least give him a chance. But, this isn't the injury that ends careers like it has done previously. And like I say, look at the examples I've just given. There are many players that have recovered before the advancements in these ACL injuries and have been just fine. So what does he offer when he comes back to Tottenham? I actually think that Bentancur is probably the most well-rounded of midfielders that we have. He does a lot of things very, very well, whereas Basuma is a brilliant 6, and you could say he's an excellent 8. Bentancur can play in a 6, can play 8 competently as well. He could also offer options should Madison, get injured or get suspended or can't play for whatever reason. Bentancur could play in that role as well. He doesn't offer the vision and the creativity that James Maddison does, obviously, but he offers something else in his ability to win the ball back in higher positions, which would create opportunities. His pressing is probably the best of any of our players, barring maybe Son. And his progressive passes, carries, his successful take-ons are all in the top percentile of the Premier League in terms of midfielders. He's an excellent, excellent, excellent player. And like I said earlier on, to get him back now, just if he can play 60% of this season, 80% as good as he was last season, in this system where we have untold freedom to be creative and be aggressive and essentially, the way Ange Postecoglou plays football, or wants the game to be played, Bentancur is perfect for it. It's kind of like when we started playing, you're like, okay, well, you definitely need Basuma in there, and you definitely need Maddison. The Postecoglou's tactic was built around the midfield and how good their that they can be, and it really kind of suits the profile of Basuma and the profile of Maddison. Except for Sarr, who's kind of been, quietly excellent and very effective, does his role brilliantly. The opportunities created for Basuma and Maddison in this role are perfect, and Bentancur fits in there as well. This system is perfect for him, and that midfield three of I'm sure many Spurs fans out there are clamouring to see it. A midfield three of Basuma, Bentancur and Maddison would be a sight to behold. I don't think there'll be another midfield as press resistant as that. When I first thought about this, I thought about against teams that play the low block, maybe that would be the right time to play these three players. And some of the defensive stabilities that Sarr offers, we could probably sort of put to the wayside and really just think about winning the game. But if you actually think about a team like Chelsea or Arsenal or even Liverpool, they would want to press. And having three players in that midfield who are completely press resistant, about as much as you can be, which would create such incredible opportunities on the counter-attack that maybe we will see that midfield three as the sort of mainstay for what we see in the Premier League this season. It would be harsh on Sarr for him to be dropped once Bentancur returns to full fitness. But that's probably what you will see. And what I predict to see is that the fluidity between these three will be something to behold. Now, obviously, they all have their roles, but Postecoglou's football, really he's looking for his players, and he said this in interviews, so it's not some sort of analysis that I've picked up. This is out there for everybody to know. He's talked about space, and if there is space on the football pitch, he wants his players to exploit it and not to be concerned with the holes that are left by that run. He said, that's up to me to figure it out. That's up to me and my staff to figure it out. Now that I'm giving them freedom to do that, it's my responsibility if that freedom leaves holes in the midfield or in the defence. Similarly to when Porro and Udogie get into that midfield role, it's up their responsibility also to join the attack and build and create opportunities. So if one of those midfield three, in terms of Bentancur, in fact, it doesn't matter what one of those midfield three do. If Maddison decides to make the run, then Bentancur can slip into that role that Maddison's left. Crucially, if Basuma might want to go forward, Bentancur can easily slip back into a six and be completely competent and offer almost everything that Basuma does in that role, including tackling, which is an attribute you don't commonly apply to or think about. When you think about Bentancur, you're thinking about the way he floats past players and glides into space. He's actually tackling. He's underrated as well. But yes, so if these situations occur when one of these players has to commit and obviously score goals against in the Premier League, you require commitment to the tactic. In order for that to happen consistently and effectively, players need to compensate for when those runs are made. And Bentancur, Maddison, Basuma can easily swap positions without it impacting the tactic and what we're trying to do significantly. It's really exciting stuff. Fluidity is the word I was looking for. There will be a certain fluidity to this midfield that you might not naturally see, but it will exist. And these are players being able to pick up where others have left off and it having almost no impact on what we're trying to do tactically. And the other thing that's not normally discussed with Bentancur is clinical. His ability to score in positions that he shouldn't necessarily score in. I don't know how much people out there put on XG. I quite like XG. I think it tells you a lot about how good a chance is created and how many goals you should or shouldn't be scoring. It also tells you how good a player is. When he's outscoring his XG like Son has done since 2018, no player in the Premier League has scored more goals compared to their XG than Son has. Something like 26 more. It shows you how good they are at finishing, how good a striker they are, or how good they are in that position. It doesn't mean that they're lucky. It means that they're better than almost everyone else in that scenario at scoring that goal. In Son's case, with Bentancur, he scored 5 from an XG of 2.2 last season when he was playing for Conte. So he's going to have so many more chances with Postecoglou's system than he would have done previously. Freedom of which he's going to be given, and playing with Maddison and the build-up play with Basuma in that midfield, and it's incredible. I mean, and you just got to look back at the signings that we made there. I mean, the Conte era will be looked back on as one which is somewhat regretful. It wasn't enjoyable, but the shining light out of that, apart from qualifying for the Champions League, was buying in Kulusevski and Bentancur. Both players are going to be crucial for us this season. So what do you make of his return to Tottenham Hotspur? Do you believe that he is going to be the player that we saw last season? Can he recover significantly from that ACL to achieve some of the things that I've talked about in this video? Will he be as good as Xavi was when he returned? Will he displace Sarr? Will Sarr play more than we think we are? Are we just having this ideal idea that Bentancur and Basuma and Maddison will be our first 11, or will Postecoglou see things differently? Obviously, whatever Postecoglou says goes. Let us know in the comments below. And if you're still here with us, please hit like and subscribe. The liking and the comments below as well is really important. It's not necessarily something you might want to do, but if you want to help trigger the algorithm and get this video more views than it would, I mean, do what you want. I'm just asking. If you've got the time, then yeah, get involved. All right, boys, take care, and girls, and everyone else as well. Bye.